All right, well, welcome. Andreas is going to give us his slideshow presentation, and thank you for coming.
All right. What is DSD? And DSD stands for Direct Stream Digital, and it was coined by Sony and Philips in the early 90s already as an encoding format for SSCD. It's nothing else than delta sigma modulation, and was basically invented in its form by Philips in the early 70s already, but at the time it was a little bit ahead of its time, and it was never really used for audio. In the early 80s, as you know, the CD took off and PCM with it. But at the same time the CD took off, it became apparent that the Achilles heel of a digital audio system was the conversion A to D and the D to A conversion. And PCM could not be really pushed directly for more than 16 bits was the output, but they couldn't reach more than 13, 14 bit in the conversion process. So DSD really came to the rescue in 1987, and this kind of shows you, an A to D converter, those two blocks, and the recorder, and the D to A converter, these three blocks. And that's how it started. We have a DSD, or 1-bit A to D front end that takes care of the conversion from analog to digital. Not the right format for CD yet, but that's why they had this conversion or decimation filter to produce PCM. And the same thing back here, PCM from the CD, it goes through interpolation and delta sigma modulation, becomes DSD for a short while here, and then analog. So that's already state of the art in 1987, and without you knowing, you were listening to DSD a little bit. So DSD was really the enabling technology for PCM to reach higher precision and higher dynamic range. In the early 90s, Sony and Philips asked themselves, what if we take these fairly intensive blocks out and simplify this chain and create the DSD chain? You can see every time you take something out and you simplify it, it's associated with better sonic performance. And that was basically the motivation here. As I said before, it was delta sigma modulation, DSD's delta sigma modulation, and the way it is created is through this architecture. That's a delta sigma modulator. You come in with an analog or a PCM signal, and you go through what is called a loop filter, and that can be many different things, algorithms, but the most important thing to note here is its noise shaping. I'll tell you or show you later how that really works. But out here, we have still PCM, and at that point we go into the quantizer, and if that resolution here is 48 bits or whatever, we basically throw away 47 bits and we come out with 1 bit. Now I said throw away 47 bits. That's not really true, because we take those 47 bits and we feed it back to the input and let the next sample be influenced by this so-called error that we're doing. So in other words, this error goes around in circles almost forever. And we can see that whatever error we're committing in the quantizer gets smeared over a long period of time. So in other words, when we look at PCM, we have a PCM sample, 16-bit or 24-bit, whatever. You take that's a number, and you can reconstruct the exact size of the amplitude, the analog amplitude below it. All the information is in that one sample. Take 1 bit or one sample from a DSD signal, it's 1 or 0, you don't know anything. The information of the amplitude is smeared over time, over a very long time in the signal. I talked about noise shaping before, And this is what's happening with the DSD spectrum. We have a fairly low signal to noise ratio in the audio band up to 20 kilohertz, and then the noise is being pushed to the higher frequency where it doesn't matter that much. But it rises slowly, without any sharp discontinuity, without any sharp break wall. As comparison here, I drew in, the PCM spectrums, for 96 kilohertz, 192, and 384. What's characteristic about DSD spectrum is always that break wall where you completely cut off anything above the Nyquist frequency here. DSD is really not like that. You have almost the same performance as PCM, up to the Nyquist frequency, and then it slowly, changes.